Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap-up for Friday, October 30th, 2015. And I'm back in the Middle East because the U.S. Middle East policy is getting more confusing and even more dangerous. Now, they're talking peace in Geneva, while the U.S. is talking about sending more troops to Iraq and more actions in Syria and Iraq by actual U.S. service personnel. But they're talking peace in Vienna. And the other confusing thing is that before this Iran nuclear deal, wasn't invited to talk at the peace deal with Russia and the U.S., Iran, Syria, to try to solve this 5-year-old civil war that's killed more than 250,000 Syrians on both sides. And it's the Iranians and Russians are backing Bashar al-Assad and his regime, the Assad regime. Of course, John Kerry says, one man can't stand in the way of peace. Well, the Iranians and the Russians have been backing them, and they're ramping up their backing so much that ISIS is on its heels, and the moderate rebels are on their heels. And they are not backing down. I mean, Russia has moved in helicopter gunships and jets and cargo and troops, and Iran's got forces on the ground, and Hezbollah is, again, this is ugly. And even though they're talking peace in Vienna, they're not talking peace in Syria. This is clearly a bizarre and confusing policy. They couldn't remove Assad by force, and now John Kerry's going to talk him out of his job? Meanwhile, the U.S. is going to be sending advisors to Iraq and Syria. The program to train these so-called moderate rebels was a disaster, to say the least. Spent millions of dollars in training, a handful of people. The other thing is the Pentagon had a hard time finding, basically vetting the moderate rebels so they wouldn't be arming Al-Qaeda and ISIS. And that is what they have in part done. In Syria, this is a huge and disastrous problem. I mean, you're going to be sending advisors to Iraq. Okay, well, you'll be fighting alongside Iranian forces and forces that are a lot more loyal to the Iranians than they are to the U.S. We kind of left the Iraqis high and dry there. Just pulled out. But here's where it gets dicey. We're going to send advisors to Syria. Hello, do you not know a large percentage of these fighters are Al-Qaeda and ISIS? And how long would it take before American advisors, service people, would be captured? How long after that do you think it would take before they would shoot a video about lopping one of our soldiers' heads off? I mean, we're going to be advising we're back to the moderate rebels, the Free Syrian Army. Hello? On top of that, Ash Carter, Defense Secretary, says that, they're going to have direct action on the ground in Iraq and Syria. Direct action, our military forces, special ops, whatever, like we did with this raid where we saved and freed 70 prisoners in northern Iraq. We're going to do some of that in Syria, too. Of course, Russia is protesting and saying it's a mistake and it's illegal. And so I'm going to sum this up. So in Iraq, we're going to fight alongside Iran and the Iraqi forces against Syria. And in Syria, we're going to fight against Russia, Iran, and Hezbollah alongside the moderate rebels. And the moderate rebels are going to be helped out by ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Who is in charge of this foreign policy? Who are the bad guys? Who are the good guys? What is our goal in Syria? And yes, I know it's all about a pipeline. Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, brought that up. Other people have brought up it's about a pipeline deal. Assad said no, and woo, civil war. I get that. But this is, I feel sorry for our military people. It is not only confusing, but it's very dangerous to our troops on the ground. And this is just another sign of increased, not decreasing instability and war in Syria after this Iran nuclear deal. This is not a decrease. This is an increase. Well, big surprise, folks. The Fed's not going to raise interest rates. Here, another story here. Fed keeps interest rates record low, but will consider, and this is where it gets Bagdad Bob-ish. I can't believe the paper could print this with a straight face. And will consider December rate increase. They're going to consider a December rate increase? You've got to be kidding me. All the indications, this is what Peter Schiff said, and he's manages a couple of $1 billion at Euro Pacific Capital. All the indications are a declining economy, not a rising economy. And they're going to think about raising rates just before Christmas. Really? Really? I had Nomi Prinz say, they're going to raise rates in December. None of this stuff's going to get any better. Every week I've been showing you these business headlines, and I'm just picking up a few of the ones that I see. Nomi Prinz pointed out, says, the Fed's not going to ruin Jamie Dimon's year-end bonus by raising rates. They're not going to, basically kibosh the entire derivative market by raising rates. They can't raise rates ever. Here's some of the headlines I pulled this week. This is from Zero Hedge, top one. It says, yes, a new crisis is coming, and here's why. This is a scary one. Deutsche Bank, because they got $70 trillion in derivatives, more than $70 trillion. Deutsche Bank, new Deutsche Bank chief warns of looming economic slowdown. That's that. Oh, here we go. This is the stalwart, tech company Apple beats on sales and EPS, earnings per share, but misses on iPhone and iPad sales. Oh, and China slowdown. Yeah. China slowdown. Here's another one. The housing market, great, big bright spot. The housing market slammed by soft September sales. Yeah, down 1.5%, 11.5% month over month. And here's my favorite from John Williams right here. September durable goods orders sank year to year for the 8th straight month. This is one of the things economist John Williams at shadowstats.com has been predicting, that the economy would continue to decline. He's been predicting that since the end of last year, beginning of 2015. And what's the GDP? So far, this is not adjusted for anything. 1.5% GDP. Yeah, the Fed's going to be raising rates. Sure. Yeah. This is like Bagdad Bob, the lies he made about, as we're entering, Baghdad, as we're entering, these cities in Baghdad. Oh, we're going to kill all the Americans. Oh, we're going to win. Here we are as he's entering the city of Baghdad. Well, yeah, we're going to win. He's just one lie after another. This is ridiculous. I called my friend Gregory Mannarino about the economy, and he says that, listen, used to be a Fed president, and, there were probably coordination between Fed presidents and things like that, and then this central bank would do something a few weeks later, maybe another one would do something else. He says, not anymore. He says, what it appears now is that the global central banks are having successive actions within a few days of each other. He says it's a global coordination by central banks. And as the economy continues to slow down, that the central banks are ramping up their coordination and ramping up the things they're doing to prop up the global economy. I don't see how this ends. The other thing is this budget deal. I mean, somebody asked me this week, said, Greg, what do you think about this, the budget deal and raising the debt ceiling in $19.6 trillion? It's raising it. I mean, there is no ceiling. Every time they get close to it, they raise it. There's no ceiling. We're just printing money. And I said, listen, this is yet another sign that they never intend to pay this money back. Folks, they couldn't agree on a sequester of $85 billion a year. They just went up to $19.6 trillion in this debt ceiling, more borrowing. I know some people say, well, that we've had record, tax receipts. Yeah, it's doing so well that we're going to borrow record amounts of money. They never intend. This should have been a question in the debate. Come on. They never intend to pay this money back. Period. They don't intend to pay it back. There's no plan to pay it back. They're not like, we're going to raise the debt ceiling, but here's how we're going to cut things, and here's how we're going to finally start paying this money. No, they're not retiring debt. They're expanding the debt. Of course, that would require some smart, unbiased people to be asking questions in a debate, and you didn't get that from the MSNBC, NBC folks. You didn't get that at all. You talk about bias. I mean, completely and totally biased. And the big headline in the debate was all the people on stage going after the moderators. going after John Harwood and Becky Quick and Carl Quintanilla. I mean, here's the problem with them trying to be tough guys. They try to be, trip people up. They're trying to be tough guys. And here's the problem. Carl and Becky and John, they're used to sucking up. You think that Becky Quick is going to ask Warren Buffett, hey, you got a bunch of bailouts. You invested in Goldman and they got bailed out through AIG. You invested in our former parent company, GE, and it got bailed out. Hey, your Wells Fargo Bank got bailed out. American Express, hey, they also got some government bailout. Wow, you'd be the laughingstock of the investment world were it not for the government bailouts, Warren Buffett. You think she's going to say that to Warren Buffett? You think Carl Quintanilla is going to be tough to somebody? They tried to be tough with these Republican candidates and they got their tails handed to them because they were biased. They were exposed for being biased. And here's one of the headlines I pulled, but it really doesn't say, candidates take on each other, policies, and here was the headline, and the moderators. Let me tell you, the biggest headlines that came out would have, if I was the news director at NBC or ABC or CBS, would have come from Marco Rubio. Yes, Ted Cruz talked about how the mainstream media isn't trusted by people because they're biased. You had some good quotes from Donald Trump about mean-spirited questions. You had the governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie, we're talking about what gambling, sports gambling. Are you crazy with all the problems? Yes, but the big headline. The big headline here. This is from Marco Rubio. Democrats have ultimate super PAC and MSM. Wouldn't they have gotten clicks and sold some papers and got some views with that, Marco? Here's another one. Hillary Clinton exposed as liar, Marco Rubio. They didn't touch that. They didn't even go in this story they talked about, and some of the other mainstream media stories talked about how, Ted Cruz said people were, that the mainstream media is unfair, and, Donald Trump said there are mean questions. They didn't touch what Marco Rubio said, which I thought was one banging headline after another. And I had a hard time finding the quote. Luckily, I recorded Marco Rubio's quote. And let me read to you what he said. Marco Rubio, Democrats have the ultimate super PAC. It's called the mainstream media. Big applause. And I'll tell you why. Last week, Hillary Clinton went before a committee, the Benghazi committee. Then she admitted that she had sent emails to her family saying, hey, this attack in Benghazi was caused by al-Qaeda-like elements. She also called the leaders of Libya and Egypt and said, no, it had nothing to do with the video. No, it wasn't a protest. I mean, what they want to say, I'm going to pick this quote in a minute. What they want to say, it was confusing. It was chaos. No. She knew exactly what went on, and she sent emails and made phone calls within 24 hours to her family as it was going on, and also the leaders in Libya and Egypt saying that, it wasn't this video. It wasn't a protest. It was a planned, a coordinated attack. Rubio goes on to say, Hillary Clinton, she spent over a week telling the families of those victims, the American people, that it was because of a video, and yet the mainstream media is saying it was the greatest week in Hillary Clinton's campaign. It was the week she got exposed as a liar. It was a week that she got exposed as a liar, says Marco Rubio, but she has her super PAC helping her out, the American mainstream media. Of course, they lied by omission. You know why they lied about it? You know why they didn't touch this story? Because they know it's true. And I used to work at ABC News at Good Morning America. I also worked as an investigative reporter at CNN, worked as an investigative reporter at both. And early on in my career at ABC, that was when the Gore and Bush election, the big runoff in the Florida and the hanging chads and all that. And when it was finally over, in my boss's office, everybody was piled in. She had a huge office. I don't know, probably 40 people, 50 people, and they're watching Al Gore's, I've given up speech. And, people were clapping and, clapping. And when, 43 got on there, George Bush W got on there, boo, hiss, boo. I thought, wow, I had just started at the networks, and I'm neither Democrat nor Republican. I was an investigative reporter, and I knew I always had to be fair. If you weren't fair, it was a good way to get sued. You had to be fair. Not at the networks. And if you confront some of these people at the networks, as I did, and said, wow, it's kind of biased. It's not, but we're telling the truth. You tell them that they're being biased. Oh, you might as well be telling them that their mothers are fat, ugly, and wear army boots. I mean, how dare, whoa, we're not biased. That's what they would do. I had a producer at CNN that would say dreadful things about Sarah Palin. Oh, and glowing things about Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. Any Democrat, they could do nothing wrong. That was the prevailing attitude. When I was at the networks, I was there 9 years. That was the prevailing attitude. I was totally biased. I wasn't shocked later on. I was at CNN. I was like, oh boy, that's unbelievable. I couldn't be biased. I had to be fair. Otherwise, I could get sued. So that was the big headlines. The big headlines were, I mean, could you imagine, could this sell some papers? Hillary Clinton exposed as liar, Marco Rubio. How about that? How about mainstream media is the Democratic super PAC, the biggest super PAC of all for the Democrats, the mainstream media. They didn't touch that. They know it's true. This is why they're going to be hitting the dustbin of irrelevance. They lose the trust of the public. And then the public just says, well, you guys are just a spin organization. This isn't the news. It's really quite unbelievable. Quite unbelievable. Just a couple odds and ends. I had Goldman Sachs to pay $50 million for a federal data leak, $50 million for a data leak. And buried in the bottom of this story, it says that the Goldman Sachs employee, admitted that one of their employees committed a criminal action. And yet, big banks, just fine. Nobody goes to jail. Shareholders pay, and everybody gets their bonus. Outrageous. You cannot have a legit, growing, vibrant economy with this kind of crony capitalism and unlevel playing field. It's not going to happen. It's bad for the country. Finally, the Planned Parenthood, they have another video out, not the Planned Parenthood, but the folks doing the investigation of Planned Parenthood, the Center for Medical Progress, out with another video. I just want to put this out. Of course, this isn't a news story about, another top-ranking Planned Parenthood person talking about, delivering intact fetuses. Not a news story. There's questions about if they're intact. Are they alive when they're killing them? I mean, who knows? The Planned Parenthood people say they've done nothing wrong. They only sell fetal tissue, baby body parts, and they only get enough money to recoup the costs. And of course, they also say that the videos are edited to a point where they misrepresent what people are saying. I've seen the videos. Been in television since all my adult life. I haven't seen that. I like for them to point that out to me, where they edited these videos to change the meaning of what these people are saying when they say something like, "Yeah, we can give you 120 intact fetuses." I'd like to see how they edited that to make that really something else. That we'll come over and have a beautiful picnic lunch and bring your baby. I don't know. Maybe that's I'm making that up. But listen, another video out. The Center for Medical Progress. Another video out. Planned Parenthood, of course, denying all of it, but this is added to the list, and the Center for Medical Progress says more videos to come out, more shoes to drop, and I'm going to stay on this story. You guys, it's on my news stories underneath my picture that I have my news from around the web stories. I put that story on. You should watch the conversation with the investigators. It's chilling and it's gross. You're talking about chopping up babies for their body parts for money. Is just that simple, is from what I can tell from the videos. That's the way I see it. I'm Greg Hunter. Thank you for supporting USA Watchdog with your comments and donations. Fear not. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, and above all, spiritually. Fear not. God's in charge.